Hello everyone, my name is Harold Dava. I'm with metric number 30915. Now I'm gonna talk about the discussion about metaphysics. I mean, what does it mean? Where does the name came from? And how it is constructed? And how could it possibly related to the phenomenon of death? Now I'm gonna talk and discuss about it in this video. So first thing first, what is the definition of metaphysics? So long short story, um, we need to sort of rewind time to the 3000 before century. At that time, there was a man called Aristotle, who we all know who is Aristotle. He was a great and wonderful philosopher at that time, who was a teacher for Alexander the Great, and he was also a protege of another great philosopher called Plato. So why why Aristotle need to be in our discussion right now? Why is he matter? So the word metaphysics actually derived from the collective title of the 14 books by Aristotle. So, but matter of fact, in that collective books, Aristotle himself did not call or written any single terms regarding metaphysics, but he had four names for the branch of metaphysics. Like these four branches would lately or later on would form the meaning or the new field of philosophy study called metaphysics. So what are the what are the aspect or what are the branch? So the first one is first philosophy, second one first science, third one wisdom, and the last one is theology. So after a century after the death of Aristotle, um, there was an editor who finally recorded or he created a title for these collective books. His name was Andronicius of Rhodes. Um, he titled those 14 books named in Latin Tameta Tapusica. So what does the Tameta Tapusica mean? So it just means um the ones after the physical ones. So you might questioning or wondering what's the meaning of the ones after the physical ones? What does it have to do with the metaphysics and the field of that metaphysics study? So in complete definition, metaphysics is the study of nature, of reality, of what sort of things are real. So it also seeks in principle of any basic criteria to determine what sorts of things can real. So this metaphysics thing sort of uh, question the unanswerable question like um, many scientists seeking of right now, like space and time, relativity, or any quantum equation. So the question can range from any kind of subject. So what is it? That's why is it called in the Aristotle 14 books, it's called the subject matter because it's basically cover any subject that people searching or looking for or even seeking for that. So Socrates said and or stated that death is nothing to fear. So regarding our question about could it possibly related between philosophy of metaphysics to the death phenomenon of death, Socrates said it could Socrates' statement could possibly answer our question. Like I said before, Socrates said that death is nothing to fear. So we may wondering why Socrates said these horrible and horrendous things. So the argument of Socrates will say that w- when the when you experience death, the moment after you die, you are at least a bit concerned about whether you are dead or you living or asleep. I mean, did I ever wonder why am I not alive before I was born? So Socrates said that he personally didn't even care. On the other hand, in modern day science even says that nothing special or lucky about death or birth. For science, birth and death are simply unimportant events in the long unbroken process, like in biology process like multiplication or so. So not that only living things born and die, so unliving things wouldn't even experience, and the birth and the die. And you know, we we may talk about the bigger things like the universe, the Big Bang, the novas, but you can clearly see the comparison. So at the end, nothing else matters. So what we're really afraid of dying is pain. We think pain is painful and never ending. That's why people nowadays like very thriving to seeking of what we call as living more than 100 years, 200 years. So everything um is obscure and you are entering a tunnel vision. So when dying, pain will not be your concern. After all, getting up will be your main concern. From the last point that I stated, um, you might wondering why is this happening? So you you finally ask the question, what makes a thing an individual thing? So it means just what separates it from other things. So why we need to separate that from other things? So you might roll you might roll your head at this complex question. And I think it's a silly thing to ask. After all, I think is isn't it obvious when something is a single thing? So, in conclusion, we do not live at a better death. Although although powers control like the whole politics and economics and all the thing that government staff may decide who is to live and who is to die, they have no power to make us to be a not a valuable corpse. Um, it is by dying that we become corpse. They will kill us, but they have no power over the dying become corpse. So I believe, and I firmly believe, that is a greatest lever. So, uh, like for example, in my environment or people around me, when when they already old enough, like 16 or 70 years old, they kind of scared to death about the death itself. So they're starting to get more religious and um, they pretty sums it up that death is the greatest lever. So people sort of aware of um, the phenomenon of death. So in conclusion, in my final conclusion, everyone has to die. Rich and powerful will all die. And I mean, we may delay that using science, the technology, but at the end, we may not overcome. Thank you.